People need an income that's guaranteed to them.
If you lose money to taxes, you're never getting that money back.
You need to get serious about adding some lower risk.
Greed. I don't like greed.
The thing to be afraid of, honestly, is the thing that we're not thinking of, the black swan event.
There's a tsunami coming. Bye.
Welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers.
Just coffee talk.
There's a lot of noise, a lot of chatter. Who do you listen to? Who do you not listen to? You have to stay focused.
A fun and informative look at the issues of wealth, retirement, and protecting your life savings.
These advisors out there that were trained to sell, and have all these fees. They don't want to talk about this product, so they make less money.
And now, Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers.
Hello again, and welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, you can find us, of course, at zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. And we hope that you do. If it's time to talk about your retirement, Charisse is here. That's the place that she really excels, is helping people get ready for retirement and helping them in retirement. Charisse, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Football's in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Cool weather's in the air.
Super Bowl weekend. And gosh, it used to be at the end of January. Now we're in mid-February, for crying out loud. But all right, so who you got? You don't have a dog in this hunt, do you?
No, but I do like Kansas.
Okay.
Something about that Papa John's guy. I kind of like his commercials. He's pretty funny. He's got that dad bod. He's cool. He's not overreaching, but he's very talented. So right. I think they probably got it, but who knows, right? Who knows?
I think Kansas City will probably win it, but you never know. We've thought that before, and somebody comes in and just upsets the whole apple cart. So
I know.
But the main thing is the commercials and the food that you're going to eat. Hopefully you're putting together all your food this weekend, because that's a big deal on Super Bowl Sunday as well.
It is. I like to prep like the dogs with the crescent rolls, and I like to do, it's not a healthy weekend. But speaking of Super Bowl, I have been playing in the backyard throwing footballs with my children, and I'm starting to realize my age is setting in. So for the longest time, we always did Frisbee. For some reason, I'm like, I need to get my son to really throw a good football. My daughter, I'm going to tell you, she could be the first female quarterback anywhere. I mean, holy cow. I can't even, I'm not being biased here. She's got an arm. Yeah. And I just need to get her a little taller. And she's strong. She's beefy like me. But you know what I learned is I'm throwing the football. And with my right arm, my arm hurts, right? And then my son actually threw the football and it hit my wrist. And then the pain radiated up my shoulder. So every time I threw with my right hand, my left shoulder hurt. My kids were laughing at me because I'm like, ow, oh, this hurts. And I'm like, let's start kicking the ball, because I have a really good kick. And then the top of my foot hurt, then my ankle hurt. And I'm just like, okay, this has been an hour. And I am not as young as I once was. I am hearing my clients in my head right now, and I'm like, can we get the Frisbee? So we get the Frisbee, and I school them in Frisbee, but they're making me run like crazy. So it's such a great workout. But in the heart of football this weekend.
Well, I played pickleball for the very first time this week. And I didn't go after it real hard, but it was fun and everything like that. And I'm listening to the radio, and they had an orthopedic surgeon on, and he said, pickleball is ensuring my retirement.
Wow. You know what? That's awesome. Pickleball is just the biggest thing. I was just hanging out with Bob Rose, and he says, we play pickleball now. And he's like, we will come to Ocala and teach you. I'm like, I'm dying to try it. So here in the next couple of weeks, he's going to teach me how to play pickleball.
All right, Bob.
I'm excited.
That's awesome. Right, Bob. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on right now. Since the last time you and I have talked, let's see, the Fed has decided to pause on interest rates, and then kind of saying that March, they're probably not going to move either. The market was like, I don't like that noise. And then all these earnings reports came in for the Magnificent Seven, some up, some down. And so the market's just kind of, hanging there. It just kind of like last year, just going back and forth in the same 500 there. So it's just kind of stagnant.
Well, and then, when you look at the 7 companies, I think Amazon looked pretty good. Apple was sideways, and it's going to be interesting what happens next quarter, believe it or not. But then, they come out, and here's the positive noise. Hey, the jobs report is looking great. Yeah. We have 353,000 more jobs. But what we forgot over the last 12 months, we had lost way more than that, and we're still trying to play catch up. So this jobs report reminds me of the stock market. You go down 10%, but you got to get 11% to get it back to even, right? And we're not there, but at least it's a little optimistic. Okay. But then there's other things on the horizon. Like, have you heard of the Red Sea and the shipping container lane?
Yeah.
I mean, that was on CNBC. And, what's happening, it's going to be awful, because what's going to happen, we're not going to be able to go through there. We're going to have to go over the long way, and it's going to cost more in fees, and it's going to take longer to get the supplies. And then prices of everything is going to go up for us. So I think we're going to see heavier prices on our food and on all those things that we buy. But there's a lot of noise.
Yep.
And we just got to be aware and be ready. And if you're not retired and you're young, just when the market goes down, just shove more money into your 401ks. And if you're getting ready to retire in the next 5 years, let's come up with a plan so you can retire in 5 years, right? That retirement red zone. So a lot of noise. Let's just make smart choices.
Well, one of the things that we talk about on this show all the time is Charisse helps people in that space, getting ready for retirement and in retirement. And there are a lot of people this year that are going to be moving into that retirement red zone, because we call it the peak 65. More than 12,000 people will turn 65 every day in 2024. We're about at the peak. And so that means they're eligible for Medicare. Maybe some of them are retired, getting ready for retirement, looking at 67, maybe looking longer. Who knows? This doesn't mean they're all going out of the workforce, but they are all in that retirement red zone. So Barron's Elizabeth O'Brien was on CBS News, and she was talking about it. And she says, 65, you don't have to look at that as a deadline.
If you love what you do, there is no reason to stop at 65. There are financial benefits and cognitive benefits for continuing to work. So I would say absolutely keep working. Now, maybe you've had enough. Maybe you're ready to retire, but you still want to do something. There's a lot to be said for downshifting into a part-time job.
Okay, so this brings one of the topics that we talk about regularly, Charisse. There are two schools of thought here. Going on and continuing working, if that's what you want to do and you get mental stimulation from that, and that's great, go for it. But, there's a lot of people that are tired at this point in their life. They had a job that has just burned them out, and then they sit down with you and they think, I got to keep going, I got to keep going. Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you can retire, and that's kind of a fun meeting, isn't it, Charisse?
It is a fun meeting. I'm going to tell you, retirement, from what I've learned, because I'm not there, it's very emotional. It's a psychological decision. You're not going to get a paycheck anymore. Now you're living on your money. And when you do that, you'll talk yourself out of retiring, and you'll give yourself every excuse why I fear running out of money. I fear running out of money. I can't retire. And some of the wealthiest people do this every day. I don't care how much money you have. This is a thought that comes across people's minds. And so I'm okay with people working, but you're 65, you get Medicare. Why work? Why don't we give back now, especially if you don't need the money? If you're just one of those drivers that just want to be in the know. Hey, I got the Grilled Cheese Foundation, you all, and I need volunteers, and it's an amazing foundation. But the moral of the story here is we don't know how long we're going to be on Earth, right? And if you keep working and you're 65 because you don't know if you can retire, or you just feel because you talk to your neighbor Bubba or your family member Jack, and they're just like, I don't know if you saved enough, maybe you should work, or maybe they're telling you, no, retire. You need to know. You need to know before you go. Our clients are trained before you sell a house, before you do this, know before you go. Come talk to me. Let's do the math, right? Here at Zinnia Wealth, my entire team, we are educators. We are coming to you from an educational standpoint, not a salesman's standpoint. When you come in, we're going to get to know you. It's funny because the other day, the guy's like, you never have looked at my statements, and I've been here for an hour. It's like, because I don't care about your statements. I don't care what's on them. I care about what your goals are, your wishes, your dreams. When do you want to retire? If you want to retire now, let's dig in and figure it out. I'm doing tax planning on the first appointment. And he's like, wow. He's like, that's so unusual. And, second appointment, you come in, I'm going to educate you on something that is one of the most critical pieces of your retirement. Whether you're 50 or 65 and you can't decide when you're going to retire, and it's sequence of returns risk. This is something that is not taught. It is the second most important thing you'll learn in my office. And again, I do nothing but educate. Everybody knows I'm the worst salesperson. I just love what I do, and I want to help as many people I can, and I want to do it at the lowest fee possible. And then in that appointment, we go into the income plan. If you're 65 and you're like, yes, it sounds right, Charisse, maybe I can retire. I can get Medicare. Hey, I'm already collecting Social Security, or maybe I should go ahead and collect Social Security. Can I make this all work with the inventory that you're talking about and spot checking where we've saved and what's going to come out and how much you're going to spend on travel? And I'm going to tell you that written plan, I never saw an advisory firm or brokerage firm ever have a written plan that any consumer could ever understand or read and follow on the daily. And this is why we created this. This is why people stay with us. This is why people refer us, because even if you don't do business with us, I want to give it to you. I want everybody that I know that listens to us, that's getting ready to retire, to feel confident that they can retire based on the money you saved. Now, if you've only saved $100,000 or $50,000, you're probably not going to be able to retire, right? And it's hard for me to create a plan off that. But, if you know you've saved and you think you've saved enough, and with your Social Securities and your pensions, or maybe it's just Social Securities and what you saved, maybe you saved $250,000, maybe you saved $1 million, maybe you saved $5 million. We want to see, can you retire? If not, we're going to tell you when, and we're going to show you how. And that is key here at Zinnia Wealth. I want you to know that retirement education, first and foremost, and then we can figure out the rest over time.
Well, one of the things I saw this week, it's very dangerous when Randy gets on TikTok, but I did. And there was a retired retirement planner, a retired financial advisor. He's just walking down the street with his phone, and he said, here are the 4 most dangerous words that come out of my client's mouth. Just one more year. They get nervous. I get it. You've got your whole life and somebody's been sending you a paycheck and you're going to walk away from that. And you want to say, I know the money's there, but I'll just keep going. You may not have to keep going. What if we could say to you, you could stop working, getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, fighting traffic and dealing with it again on the way home and dealing with spreadsheets and dealing with meetings and all that you do. What if we could say you can throw all that away and make the same amount of money? How about that? Well, let's sit down and see if that is possible. Give us a look on our website, which is zinniawealth.com. You'll see a button there. It's a gold button, and it says Complimentary Retirement Consultation. That's exactly what it is. It's a free look, a free sit down. We'll get to know you and find out what you've done for retirement and what that means for you. Can you retire right now? Let's find out. 833-368-3680 is our number. 833-368-3680, or again, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about 401ks. There is actually a show that was on 10 years ago that people are still watching on YouTube. It's about 401ks. We'll tell you why they're watching it and how it affects you. Coming up next on Retirement Coffee Talk. And welcome back to Retirement Coffee Talk with Sharice Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, always, it's zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. And while you're there, tool around a little bit. There's so much on our website that you could take advantage of. Under education, if you hit that, there's a drop down and it says useful guides. And there's tons of stuff there that you could download at no charge. And it's about 401ks, it's about Social Security, it's about Medicare, it's about women going into retirement all by themselves. There's so much there that you can take advantage of. And then while you're there as well, go to the media tab there and click on that. You can hear past shows, segments of shows, interviews. There's just so much there. You can get lost in that. And if you're interested in retirement and you're coming up on it, this is a great time sucker. Let me tell you that right now. There's a lot on Sharice's website. All right. So 60 Minutes, we all know the show. And 10 years ago, they did a feature on 401ks. Remember Steve Croft? He interviewed Brooks Hamilton, and he was talking about 401ks. And he had actually some kind of shocking things to say about 401ks.
The fact is that the typical 401k investor is a financial novice. They don't know a stock from a bond. And we give them a list of 20 or 30 mutual funds with really, really powerful names. You know, they sound like, gee, that's where I want to have my money.
What are generally the quality of the mutual funds and 401k plans?
Mediocre. I'm going to be real honest with you. With half the funds on the list, really dogs, what people would characterize as dogs, shouldn't be on the list to start with.
Wow, that's not nice. I don't like to think that the choices that I have in my 401k are, quote, dogs. Yeah. But there are so many people that are still watching this this show today, and it's 10 years old. So let me ask this question, Charisse. Do we have the same problem now with 401ks that we had 10 years ago? Do we still have a lot of poor choices in there?
Yes, 401ks, it's a small menu of funds to choose from. If you get 30, you're lucky. The average is 20, and you get a few mutual funds and you get a bunch of retirement target date funds. And again, the returns in the 401ks are mediocre. So for example, you have these big name companies, right? And you're like, oh, well, this is a big name company. They surely have to be really good at what they're doing. But let's just say it's a mutual fund. I won't pick a name, but it's an S&P 500 large cap fund. And at the end of your 12-month period from January 1st to December 31st, let's say that fund actually made 10%. You're like, yeah, that fund did great. Pat yourself on the back, right? You picked the right one. But then when you measure it up to the S&P 500, that's the benchmark to see how well, it's your measuring stick to see how well your mutual fund manager is doing. And the S&P does 20. Now you're starting to notice that, and you're probably not doing this, you're noticing that, oh, well, there's fees in this, there's hidden fees in this, there's fees I can see in it, and I'm only made 10 when the S&P did 20. Shouldn't this really big name be at least matching the benchmark? And historically, 72 to 82% of the time, based on Dalbar, if you ever Google it up, it says they fail to beat the benchmark 72 to 82% of the time.
Wow.
Right. So here's the deal. Whether you are a client of ours or not, if you are 50 and over and you have over $250,000 in a 401k, we do a 401k stress test. And it's to help you figure out, what is my 401k making? Did it beat the benchmark? What are all the other funds that I can choose from? Am I commingling too much? What are my fees, Charisse? This 401k X-ray is so important, especially if you're 50 and over, you're getting ready to retire, maybe in 5 years or 10 years. If we could show you some funds in that 401k that are lower, but we're seeing a higher rate of return and they're matching their benchmarks like the S&P 500, wouldn't you want to know? Because this last 10 years, if you're retiring in 10 years, is going to count the most. And if we can keep the fees down and find the one that has a potentially a higher rate of return, why wouldn't you do it? Right? So we're starting to groom these people getting ready to retire. We want to help you. We're the retirement educators here in Central Florida, and we want to get you prepped and ready. And I will tell you, if you come in and see us, I'm not trying to earn your business when it comes to this. I am giving back. When you retire, I hope to see you again, right? But we want to give back to the community. We want you guys to get set and ready. There's a lot of junk in these 401ks. And just because you saw the company on Squawk Box, you saw a big name, it doesn't mean it's the best fund you should be picking. So be prudent about your financial future. Be a wise steward of your choices. We do a free 401k X-ray just for you, okay? Remember, 50 and above, and you have to have $250,000 in that 401k for it to actually make sense. If you knew that you could lower your fees, if you knew maybe you could lower your risk, if you knew that maybe you could raise your rate of return just by some advice, would you move forward? Would you implement that plan on your own while you're at the 401k company contributing every year with your employer? So think about that, because that is very, very important.
And we will do that analysis for you, a 401k analysis, if you give us a call or give us a look on our website and click that gold box, zinniawealth.com. Complimentary retirement consultation is what it says. Just click on that. We'll ask you to fill in a little information, and then our team will reach out to you, get a date on a calendar. Or you can call us right now, do the same thing at 833-368-3680. You know, Charisse, we talk about people when they get to be about 50 years old, 55 years old. This is when they start thinking about this stuff, because it's you can see it off in the future that somewhere along the line you're going to walk away and you're going to use that 401k. But there is a magic age here, and that's 59 and a half. Explain to me why that is key here with 401ks.
If you were to withdraw money before 59 and a half, and let's say you're retired, you say, I need to take money to live on, and it's in an IRA, guess what? You have a 10% penalty. So when you hit 59 and a half, there is no more penalty, right? But there are some other rules built in. If you're 55 and you had a certain job, et cetera, and you left some money behind in your 401k, you actually could live on those without a penalty. So there are some options, but it's a 10% penalty.
Yeah, and as I said, after 59 and a half, you don't have to pay that penalty. But Charisse, you don't have to take all of your money out of a 401k if you're still working at 59 and a half. You want to get that match, but you can roll money from one retirement fund into another retirement fund, and there's no tax problems there, correct?
Do you mean from a 401k to an IRA,
Correct,
Randy?
yes.
Yes. So here's a nice thing. A lot of companies, I will say 99 out of 100% nowadays, if you're still working with them and working for them, they allow you to do an in-service distribution. Sometimes you can move the entire 401k out, you roll it to an IRA, there's no penalty, there's no taxes, and if you're still working and contributing, they'll still match. It's been very flexible, and I absolutely love that, but it's a good way to start getting ready and planning for retirement and finding an advisory team locally that's going to educate you and start implementing a plan slowly. Now, let's say you're under 59 and a half, and you have had 2 different jobs, maybe 3 different jobs, and you left those 401ks alone. Well, because you're not 59 and a half, and because you've left that company, you are allowed to roll those to IRAs without penalties. So the 59 and a half rule is gone if you've been fired, laid off, whatever it is. So don't leave those 401ks behind just doing whatever they're doing. Those are the ones we tend to see that have the higher fees, believe it or not. Roll them to an IRA. We'd be happy to help you, or your advisors you're working with. Everybody's happy to help you. And now start creating that plan that's going to make more sense, and maybe you can keep your costs down. And now you're going to have a menu, a huge menu. I mean, you have 20 to 30 options in a 401k. Now, if you bring it to an IRA outside the employers or ex-employers, you have 30,000 oysters. Pick the right advisor. Typically, when you're in a 401k and you get to talk to your 401k dude or gal, they're the stock jock. They said, keep your money in. Don't worry about it. There's no real plan. Just beware, because you might want to work with a fiduciary in the industry that focuses on retirement education. And Randy, you know Pinocchio, right? Pinocchio, what happened to his nose because he lied?
Grew.
He grew. So there's some actors out there that are saying they're fiduciaries, but they're not. So do you know if you have a real live stock jock? Or do you not know? Who are you working with? Who are you going to work with? So again, as you're moving 401ks around and trying to figure out all this, if you can move those out, make sure that you are very clear who you're working with and that they are working in your best interest.
Well, so many of us, when we watch investment shows or you watch financial news, or even if you listen to our show, we'll talk about, you know, the different mutual funds and bonds, and we'll talk about the Magnificent Seven, and you'll kind of go, this doesn't really affect me because I don't have all that. I've got a 401k. Well, I bet if you peeled it back and you looked in there, you're going to find out, oh, look, there's Amazon. Oh, look, there's Apple. Oh, look, there's Microsoft. You own these inside your 401k. That is your portfolio. This is your biggest retirement asset. It used to be you'd go into retirement and your house would be your biggest retirement asset. You'd sell your house and that would fund your retirement. Well, now these 401ks have grown way probably beyond what your house is worth. This is what you're bringing to retirement. Let's get some analysis of it. Let's get some management of it, and let's make it work for you in your retirement years. We'll do that free 401k x-ray, that 401k analysis for you, and let's see what's in there, what's working, what's not working, and how we might be able to help. Look us up online, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. You'll see the complimentary retirement consultation gold box. Click on it. You'll be on your way, or you can give us a call as well, 833-368-3680. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, how do you feel about putting your money someplace in a CD or something like that where it's in there for 5 years or 7 years, or you put your money in something that lasts 10 years? So you're going into retirement, you're in your 50s or 60s, and you're going to lock up your money for that period of time? Let's talk about that. Long-term versus short-term investing. That's coming up next on Retirement Coffee Talk. Welcome back to Retirement Coffee Talk with Sharice Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. And you can click on that box there. It's a gold box that says complimentary retirement consultation. If it's time to talk about your retirement, let's sit down and do that together. Do the math on your retirement, as we like to say here on the show. All right, so don't hold it against me, but I hang out with a lot of people that are NASCAR fans and wrestling fans. There's a lot of people that can really talk wrestling around me. Anyway, WWE has just signed a 10-year, $5 billion deal to move over to Netflix. That's huge.
Wow.
That is really
That is huge.
You know, they've been on network for an awfully long time. Now they're going over to Netflix. 10 years, though. That is a long-term commitment. So that's why I want to talk about long-term investing versus short-term investing. I mean, we talk to people in their 50s, their 60s, their 70s. Sharice, if you look at somebody and say, here is someplace you can put your money for 5 years or 10 years, are they uncomfortable about that? I think they would look at you and say, I don't want to lock my money up. Talk to me about something that's 2 or 3 years.
You know, it's crazy because it depends on the investment we are talking about.
Okay.
If we talk about, hey, let's put money into a 5-year CD, people are like, yeah, great idea. They have all this positive noise about CDs and how great they are, right? You have the FDIC protection. But then when you say, hey, let's put this money in a 5-year annuity, they're like, ding, 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 I don't think so. Because there's a bad name about annuities because there's some bad ones over the years, but there's also been some good ones. And so I'm talking about this is because the 5-year example annuity is, making 5.8% every year for 5 years. The 5-year CD is not.
Okay.
The 5-year CD, you can get a lovely love letter, that 1099 if it's brokerage account money, while the 5-year annuity that is paying out more is tax deferred. So it's a better compounding rate of return and keeping more money.
And at the end of those commercials, they always go, substantial penalty for early withdrawal. So, I can't get in my money.
Right. And so at least in the annuity, the 5-year annuity, I don't have a problem with a 5-year annuity, right? We don't have all of our money in a 5-year annuity. We can take an average of 10% a year out, or at least the interest. In the CD, you can't take the interest, you can't take the money, so it's illiquid.
Okay.
So people really have to change the way they think, because we're thinking old school. I mean, old school, think about it. Yeah, I get it from the 90s and the 80s, even the early 2000s, but they've evolved and changed. So I like liquidity in all investments that we provide, okay? But I will be honest with you. Let's look at a 10-year alternative.
Okay.
I had a client who came in. Actually, they're not even a client yet. They've come in for the first appointment, they're coming in for their second. And their big question was, Sharice, I'm going to buy this 10-year note. I said, okay. He's like, I don't have access to it, obviously, but it's going to give me 4.5% every year for 10 years. I said, yes. And you're going to be taxed on it, right? And it's not liquid. He went, yeah. So you're okay with 10 years? And he said, yes. So then I said, well, why would we do 10 years there when you can do 10 years in the 10-year fixed annuity? And he went, I don't ever want to talk about annuities. I don't like them. I have a bad taste in my mouth because of my parents. And I said, I understand that, but you have to understand there's opportunity. And just like when Amazon drops 50%, I'm going to say, hey, let's buy into Amazon because it's an opportunity to buy at a low price. So we're in this opportunity zone where it says, okay, do we buy a 10-year note at 4.5% and lock our money up and have to pay capital gains and have no liquidity? Or do we buy a 10-year annuity that's paying 6% that gives you 10% withdrawal every year, or you can pull the 6% annually, and it's growing tax deferred? We don't get a 1099 in those brokerage accounts. So we got to look at the noise out there. Yeah. And so you have to be able to adapt to changes. We've said this for years. I'm going to tell you, 2 years ago, we were not looking at that 5-year annuity. There is no way anybody was getting that in our portfolio. We were not looking at that 10-year annuity.
Well, the interest rates were terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. And we can go even further, Randy. Look at the 20-year Chevron bond. You're committing for 20 years. And guess what? I'm actually okay with that if you wanted to go down that direction. Because if it's paying 5 and you want to live off it, you get to live off that. That's a little liquid, but you're holding it for 20 years. But if I said, hey, buy a 20-year annuity, you guys would all walk right out my door. And by the way, never, ever, ever buy a 20-year annuity. That's bad. There's so much bad inside of that's paying the advisor way too much money.
Okay.
So buyer beware there, of course. But we have to be open to ideas. We have to think about this methodically and in plan. And you can come in and just say, you know what, Sharice, I don't care. I want my 20-year Chevron bond. I want my 10-year note. I want some money in the market, and I'll get a little CD. That's fine too. But my job is retirement education and what is changing and evolving every year. Every year for the last 3 years, Randy, there has been so many changes.
Yeah.
And what I said 3 years ago, I am not saying today. Yeah. And what I said 7 years ago on our radio show, I'm not saying today. And what we said 10 years ago, we are definitely not saying it because things change. And our team, we are always looking forward. We're trying to say, hey, if the Federal Reserve is changing the rates, we need to reconsider our opportunities. Where's the next opportunity? We're looking at it. It's just not that 60-40 portfolio. Set it and forget it. Take your 4%. That is not a plan. That's a stock jock doing a job that you're used to hearing for the last 40 years.
Well, you use the term buckets of money many times here on the show. We're going to have, a 3-year, a 5-year, a 10-year bucket of money, 15-year way out there, that kind of a thing. Just making sure that you've got access to your money. I think that's what people are looking for. Don't lock up my money so I can't get at it. What if something happens? I'm going to need it. We've got to have that option, and that's certainly something we want to sit down and talk through. Give us a look on our website. Give us a call. 833-368-3680 is our number, or ZinniaWealth.com is our website. Click on that button that says Complimentary Retirement Consultation. If you want to know what's out there, as Sharice says many times, our job is to present to you everything that's available and then talk through it to see if it's right for you. You make those decisions. Again, ZinniaWealth.com or 833-368-3680. All right, Sharice, how old is Ella now? What is her age?
14.
Oh, you're 14. Just about there. Okay, so at 15, at 15, she can take her driver's permit. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's a summertime.
Oh, my God. So teaching my kids to drive was probably the most unpleasant experience that I had as a parent. It was just nightmarish. I mean, because they look at you, they make a mistake, and then they blame you because, well, you're the one who taught me. I was like, it was so hard. Yeah. It was so hard. Okay, so check this out. There is an insurance company and a study out there now where you can have your kid take this study. You can have them go on a simulator, and this simulator apparently is so accurate, picking up what your kid does and how they go about driving, that they can predict if your kid's going to get into an accident.
Wow, I love technology. That's where my daughter's practicing. I have not heard of this before.
Yeah, so they can actually say, okay, this kid is much more likely to have an accident than this kid is. And so that's kind of interesting. Speaking as a dad whose son had 6 accidents before he was 18, I needed this.
I'm waiting for my day.
All right. So let me talk about predicting the future in another way. One of the things that you do when you sit down with somebody is you say, you do your tax planning, you do your investment planning, you do your risk analysis with people, how much money is in the market, and you can, with your software, predict what would happen to this person's money if the market went down 10%, 12%, 15%, 40%. You can see the disaster coming if, in fact, that's where we're going. Talk to me about how that works and how your clients look at that when they see, hey, if the market goes down 40%, I lose $600,000.
Yes. So let me just correct you, Randy, for compliance purposes. We cannot predict. No software is predicting the future, but past performance is not indicative of future results, but we can look at history and go all the way back to 2008 by using our quantitative analysis software, by using the Morningstar software out there. And once we look at that, I am a little surprised, even today, all of our listeners, they're still coming in and we run this portfolio x-ray for them for free because they want to know, hey, if the market were to crash based on 2008, even though this one could be worse, maybe it's not going to be as bad, who knows? Where do they stand today? The average portfolio when that comes in, say you got $1 million, it says you will lose approximately $400,000 to $450,000 if you stay exactly where you're at, if we have the same exact crash from 2008. And they look at me in shock. You see the tears, you see the red cheeks, then you see the anger, because then they're like, wait a minute, that's not what I told the firm I wanted. And when we do that, it really puts you in a place to realize markets are doing really good right now. Is it time to step back and lower some exposure, or you want to keep going, depending on the season of your life? This software helps us. I'm just not saying it out of my mouth. We are doing the math. I'm giving you these reports. It's all yours. Take it back to your advisor. Let them fix it if you still love them, right? And then what we do on top of that, we take it another level. We take these reports and then we start to implement that income plan. What's a whole nother report? This income plan, it's a written plan, is a report based on where you're investing. And I show you what could happen based on the incomes that you need and the different checks you take out based on what you're doing today before you even come on board with us. And I'm like, here's your either or. Now, if we do it, this is where we stand. You get to choose. Take your stuff, go. We hope to earn your business, and we've done a good enough job, but I understand some people love where they're at. But help them be a better advisory firm, right? Because you need to be in the know. If you have $1 million, why would you even risk losing 300,000 of it, right? I'm just not a fan of that. It doesn't make sense when you're in retirement. It's nonsensical. So let's do the math so we can make sense of it. Because guess what? Randy, most people, they're getting ready to retire. They've worked their butt off. They have saved, they've clipped coupons, they put their heads down, they did everything they needed to do to get to this day. All because they're not willing to follow a different financial conventional wisdom when it comes to retirement, because we're so used to doing what we have done before over the last 30 years. And I know some of you come in all the time and you're like, Sharice, I'm here. I am nervous. I am very nervous because I have been failed by 2 other advisors. I'm hoping you are different. And I am empathetic to it. And I know those people out there, and there's some really great ones, okay? They're my friends. But then there's some ones out there that aren't fiduciaries, that are not doing the right things. And I know they've taken money or ripped you off and did not do what you needed them to do. And so don't be afraid of it. Just know there are people out there, fiduciaries. Not all fiduciaries are created equal. Remember that. But the retirement educators that educate you first, this is a whole different script for retirees. And this might be the first time you heard my show and you're like, who is this? I've never heard about retirement education first and foremost. Just try, see what we can do. Yeah. And if you don't like it, it's okay. You don't have to like it. We're just here to be your mediator that guides you and shows you the hazards, whether you take it or leave it.
Well, you're painting that picture of that person who comes in the door that's nervous, that doesn't know if they've saved enough. They're very emotional about their money. Everybody is. I mean, I've got a study here sitting in front of me that financial decisions, according to this psychologist, are 90% based on emotion and 10% based on logic. You see NVIDIA go up and you want to jump on that bandwagon, as Sharice says, grab onto the tail of that rocket. But how long before you get burned?
Oh, wait a minute. I got to backtrack to you, Randy, because I really love that stock. Every single one of my clients better have that stock. But we don't put all of our money in that stock because it is a roller coaster, but it is very giving.
It's doing really well. But emotionally speaking, that's what people tend to do. They see something going up and they want to grab it. And then what most of us do is when the market starts going down, we sell. We do exactly opposite of what we're supposed to be doing. And sometimes it takes somebody on the outside looking at you and saying, okay, take a breath, let's look at this, and let's do the math on it. And that's what we do at Zinnia Wealth. Give us a look on our website. Let's sit down and have the conversation. ZinniaWealth.com. Look for the gold box that says complimentary retirement consultation, and click on that. You'll be on your way. Or you can call us at 833-368-3680. 833-368-3680. We'll take a break, and when we come back, there are some changes to retirement rules in 2024. We're going to go through them, things you should know about, and then there might be changes in your life. Maybe you are hitting that magic age of 65, or maybe you are going into age 73, and now you have to worry about these things called RMDs. There are changes out there, and we're going to go through some of them. Coming up next on Retirement Coffee Talk. Welcome back to Retirement Coffee Talk with Sharice Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online at ZinniaWealth.com, ZINNIA Wealth.com. And through the show today, Sharice has talked about her emphasis and focus and real passion about educating people about this time in their life. There is so much difference between putting money away and then taking money out and living on it. And that takes an awful lot of steps. Well, one thing we also want to do is tell you about the changing landscape of retirement laws, because as you're trying to do all this, Uncle Sam and everybody else is changing the rules while you're going through it. So let's go through some of the changes for 2024. This is an article from AARP, and let's start here with Social Security. So as inflation has gone up, Sharice, so has the Social Security check, and we're going to get another little bump into this year.
So Social Security COLA, cost of living increase, is 3.2%, which we spoke about last year. So that's another $59 a month for the average retiree, right? Hey. But they took some of it away when we talk about the Medicare section. So yeah. Hey, every little bit counts, of course, right?
All right, well, let's get right to that. The Medicare, that's something, as all these people are turning 65 this year, that is a big thing that they're going to be looking at, is should they go on to Medicare. You have to sign up, of course, at 65. Will you take it? Don't know. That's when you walk away from your job. But Medicare costs continue to go up. So as the COLA goes up on Social Security, it gets eaten right back up in Medicare, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it went up to about $174.70 approximately for this year. So you can take $10 away from that $59, right?
Okay.
Start there. Hey, but by the way, Medicare has made some changes. And so they've lowered costs for insulin, which is good news. They're trying to be more preventative and get people to be healthier before they have this domino effect. So that's great news. They're actually adding therapists and counsels for families where you can go to those therapists if you need it, and Medicare will help pay for that. So that's different. So we're getting some other pools, other places, right, for benefits. So give and you take.
All right, got it. One of the other things that we talk about regularly is if you're working and you're below your full retirement age, really, really think hard about taking Social Security while you're working, because you could lose a lot of that in taxes. But the number that you can make has gone up just a little bit in 2024.
Right. So the new number for 2024, if you are working and you are 62 to 67 and collecting Social Security, so this only applies if you're collecting Social Security, it says you are allowed to make $22,320 a year. So they basically break it up into a monthly number. So if you are working at a golf course to get some discounts here and there, and your wages at that golf course monthly are higher than $1,860, that's $1,860 after that number, Social Security will take $1 out of every $2 out of your Social Security check. So if you're making double that, you're going to get a teeny weeny Social Security check, right? And you're thinking, well, why would I take Social Security if that's the case? Let me just reiterate and remind everybody, in case this is your first time listening, there is something called Senior Citizen Freedom to Work Act, and it does say if they take that $1 out of every $2 out of your Social Security check because you're working and you enjoy it, they will pay that back, but not in a lump sum. So when you do hit full retirement age that month, they will start paying it back monthly based on your life expectancy then, right? So then you do have to live long enough to get it. So I want to encourage people, it's okay. Just know it's going to happen. Be prepared. It's a hazard. And if you need that money, you need to reevaluate that situation.
So this is another one of the hazards that you encounter if you take Social Security and you're working and you're not at full retirement age. This all kind of disappears once you get to full retirement age. So just know that if you're going to take Social Security early, this is something that you're going to be dealing with.
And remember, full retirement age is it's different for, depending on when you're born, it's between 66 and 67. You could be 66 and 6 months, and that's your full retirement age. And you get 100% of your benefit then, by the way. So when you take Social Security at 62, you don't get 100%. So remember that at the same time.
All right. We talk about the money that you can put into a 401k, the money that you can put into an IRA. These amounts have also gone up this year. Now, we talk to people here who are looking at retirement, getting ready for it, thinking about it. So if you're over 50, they also give you a little catch-up provision. So in an IRA, you can put just a little bit more in, can't you?
You can. So now if you are contributing to an IRA with your local advisor or you're doing it yourself, you can actually put a total in of $8,000, right? You do have to make $8,000 to put in $8,000, right? And if you have a non-working spouse, you can also do that for them, which is nice. And if it's a Roth IRA, you can do the same thing. So the numbers went up so you can save more money if you want. And just so you know, if you have a 401k and you said, I have extra money I can save, Sharice, why not open a Roth IRA if you're making those types of wages and dump in $8,000 a year? And then you can also do it for your non-working spouse if you have one. So you're putting $16,000 a year. But I do want to remind you that if your income is too high, then you cannot do that.
Yep.
Just
All
know
right.
that.
So we talked at the beginning of the show of how many people every day this year, 12,000 people will turn 65. It's an amazing number. The baby boom is starting to peak now. So one of the other things that we talk about is a key age, which is 73. And that is when you have to start taking money out of your IRAs, your 401ks, your tax-deferred accounts. So if you turned 73 last year, Sharice, you didn't have to take an IRMD, but you got to do one by April of this year. Do I have that right?
Correct. So last year was the year they said, hey, the new age, you are legally obligated to pull money out of your retirement accounts. They changed it from 72 to 73. And before that, it was 70 and a half, in case some of you are listening. So it was 73. So if last year was when you turned 73, you get this one-time exclusion. If you forgot, they allow you to take it up to this year, but you got to take it by April 1st. So you don't have to worry about this big penalty in case you forgot, right? So this is your one-time wake-up call. Don't do it again. But if that was you and you took it April 1st, or you're going to take it April 1st this year, you have to take a second distribution by end of year, by December 31st. But then all subsequent years thereafter, do not forget, do not mess it up. Even if you're going alone, put it on autopilot and fill out those forms. You got to do it every year. Don't forget, because there's a pretty steep penalty if you forget.
So moral of the story here is every year we need to make sure we're up on the changes in the retirement rules, the changes in the tax rules, and then you will be another year older, and you might turn 65. You're thinking Medicare. You might turn 73. Now it's RMDs. There are so many different things to keep up with, and it's so good to have somebody on your side, a retirement planner, somebody who lives in this space that will keep you up on all of that. And Sharice, that's a big part of what you do.
It is. And when you go to our website, zinniawealth.com, there's an education center. And there's a guide on each one of these things, and we update it every January. So if you want more information, there's more detailed information on Medicare, on Social Security, on tax planning. It's all there. But I want to encourage you all, because there is a Zinnia.com out there. We are not Zinnia.com. We are ZinniaWealth.com. So just know that if you hear us for the first time and you just remember the flower Zinnia, and then you later on just Google Zinnia, it's a chance you can land on their site. Okay. We are ZinniaWealth.com, not Zinnia.com. And trust me, we are fighting to win our name back.
All right. Well, we want to make sure that you're fighting for your retirement, and you make Sharice a part of that fight. And we would love to be able to help you with it. If it's time to have that meeting about your retirement, we are here. ZinniaWealth.com is our website. Click on that gold box, and it'll say complimentary retirement consultation. That's exactly what it is. It's a free meeting to sit down and talk about your concerns, what you've done for retirement, and how we may be able to help. You can reach out to us this way as well. 833-368-3680. That's 833-368-3680. That's all the time we have today. Sharice, I'll give you the last word on this one.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. Enjoy the football and the beautiful weather. And we appreciate you guys listening to us each and every week and sharing our information with your friends and family. You can go to our podcast anywhere. You can go to Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You can find us everywhere. And you can hear our past episodes, and you can share them as well. So as usual, thank you so much for tuning in. Live by design and not by default. And we will see you here next week.
This has been Retirement Coffee Talk. To find out more about how the strategies we've discussed on this program can build the retirement you've been wanting, call Zinnia Wealth at 352-368-3680 or visit us online at ZinniaWealth.com.
Sharice Rivers is an investment advisor representative of Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Sharice Rivers is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Any client experiences discussed during this show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Sharice Rivers, NPN Insurance License Number 8718011.